The old house loomed before us, a skeletal silhouette against the dying light. It dared us to enter, to challenge its shadows and secrets. We were young, foolish, our laughter echoing in the stillness of the twilight. A dare, they called it, a test of courage. None of us believed in ghosts, not really, but the house knew. It waited for us, its windows like vacant eyes. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine as we stepped onto the overgrown lawn. The scent of decay thick in the air. This was a mistake. I knew it in my gut. But there was no turning back, not with my friends watching.
Last one in's a rotten egg,
Mark shouted, already halfway up the porch steps. His bravado did little to ease the growing unease in my stomach. We followed him, our laughter sounding forced now, the bravado fading with each step closer to the yawning maw of the front door. The air grew colder as we crossed the threshold, the darkness inside swallowing the last rays of the setting sun. The smell intensified, dust, mildew, something ancient and unwelcoming. This house was a graveyard of memories, and we had just stepped on hallowed ground. The floorboards groaned under our weight, each step a protest from the house itself. Dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight. The air was heavy, broken only by our nervous breaths and scuttling in the walls.
Anyone home?
Mark called out, his voice echoing. The only answer was the rustling wind through the gaps in the roof. I swore I could feel eyes on us, but when I turned, there was nothing. We pushed on, deeper into the house, each room a mirror of the last. A sudden draft sent a shiver down my spine, but there was nothing there, just the draft. We reached the grand staircase, its wood now rough and splintered. As Mark started up, the steps creaked a mournful tune. I followed, my hand trailing along the cold, damp wall. Something brushed my fingers, soft and cobwebby. I recoiled with a gasp. The upper floor was even darker, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. We moved from room to room, each one empty, yet filled with an unsettling presence. The air grew colder, and I could hear distant children's laughter, high-pitched and chilling.
Did you hear that?
I whispered, grabbing onto Mark's arm.
It's just the wind, man, relax.
But his words did little to calm my racing heart. The laughter continued, echoing through the empty halls. We entered a room at the end of the hallway, drawn by a faint glow. The room was a nursery, its wallpaper faded, a rocking horse in the centre. The glow seemed to emanate from a dusty crib in the corner. As I stepped closer, the laughter grew louder, and then I saw it, a faint figure, a young girl with long, dark hair, sitting in the rocking chair. She was humming a lullaby, the source of the eerie glow. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. The figure turned, and for a fleeting second, I saw her face. It was pale and gaunt, her eyes two black pits of despair. The scream died in my throat as the figure vanished, the laughter abruptly ceasing. A cold sweat clung to my skin, and my breath came in ragged gasps. My friends, their faces etched with terror, stared at the spot where the girl had been. Their earlier bravado forgotten, we were trapped in a nightmare.
We stumbled back from the nursery, fleeing the oppressive atmosphere of the room. We found ourselves in a long, narrow hallway, lined with portraits of stern-faced men and women from a bygone era. Their eyes seemed to follow us as we passed, their painted lips curled into silent sneers.
A floorboard creaked behind us and we whirled around expecting to see the ghostly girl. But there was nothing there, just the oppressive silence and the feeling of being watched.
We continued down the hallway, our pace quickening, until we reached a large, ornate mirror at the end. As we stared at our reflections, a dark figure began to materialize behind us in the mirror. It was tall and skeletal, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. I turned, expecting to come face to face with whatever evil lurked in the house, but there was nothing there. The figure existed only in the reflection. Panic seized us. We had to get out, escape the confines of the haunted house. We ran back down the hallway, our footsteps echoing in the silence. But as we reached the top of the grand staircase, we realized the way down was blocked. A wall of solid darkness, impenetrable and absolute, had materialized at the bottom of the stairs.
"What's going on?" whispered Emily, her voice trembling. "I want to go home." Terror lent a frantic edge to her words, mirroring the fear that clawed at my own sanity.
We were trapped, at the mercy of whatever malevolent entity shared this house with us.
Mark, ever the skeptic, ran towards the darkness, his hands outstretched. "It's just a trick of the light," he shouted, but his words were cut short as he collided with the wall of darkness. He cried out, the sound swallowed by the oppressive silence. He stumbled back, his hands clutching at his face. When he lowered them, his eyes were wide with terror, his face ashen. "There's no way through," he whispered, his voice hoarse.
We were trapped, with no escape. The house held us captive, its laughter echoing around us like a mocking chorus. Despair threatened to consume me, as cold and final as the grave. Adrenaline surged through me, fueled by primal fear. There had to be another way out. We fanned out, racing from room to room, our hearts pounding in our chests. Each door we threw open revealed only more darkness, more emptiness, more despair. The laughter continued, a constant reminder of our unseen tormentor.
We found ourselves back in the nursery, drawn, it seemed, by an unseen force. The rocking horse swayed gently, as if propelled by an unseen hand. The crib glowed with that same eerie light. But the ghostly figure of the girl was gone. In her place, scrawled on the wall in what appeared to be dried blood, was a single word: leave.
"This way!" shouted Mark, his voice edged with hysteria. He had discovered a hidden door behind a tapestry, a secret passage concealed within the wall itself. We didn't hesitate. Hope, however faint, spurred us onward. We plunged into the darkness, the passage narrow and suffocating. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. The passage twisted and turned, a labyrinth designed to confuse and disorient. The laughter seemed to grow fainter as we pressed on, until it was nothing more than a distant, chilling memory. And then we saw it. A faint light ahead, a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness.
The light led to a small wooden door, barely visible in the rough-hewn tunnel walls. We stumbled through it, gasping for air, into the cool night air. The moon, full and bright, illuminated the overgrown gardens surrounding the house. We had escaped. We didn't speak as we ran, our lungs burning, our legs screaming for respite. We didn't stop until we reached the familiarity of the streetlights, the sounds of distant traffic, a comforting symphony after the oppressive silence of the house. We collapsed on the curb, our chests heaving, our bodies trembling with exhaustion and terror. We never spoke of that night again. The memory, a shared nightmare, lingered like a shadow. The house remained a constant reminder of the horrors we had faced. But we never went back. We couldn't. The laughter still echoed in our nightmares, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within those decaying walls.
Have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? Share your story. You're not alone.